What are you doing? I'm chatting. Chatting with who? I'm chatting with all my data. He's losing his mind.
What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
Listen, MG, you should stop working too hard. That is affecting your brain or our brain, you know? You are getting so scary, man. But I'm serious. I actually found a way that I can use ChatGPT to ask any question about my large amount of data that can be unstructured or even structured data without any token limit issues and stuff.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious. Let me show you actually how can I do it, and please join us. If yes, then let's go. Hello everyone, this is MG and welcome to another ChatGPT related video. Well, in one of the previously recorded video, we talked about that how you can leverage ChatGPT and great capabilities of GPT models for using on your own large amount of data. So in that video, we were leveraging word embeddings generated by OpenAI models to be able to retrieve the relevant information that we're asking with our prompt, bring it to our prompt, and then ask questions from ChatGPT, because of course we cannot feed in all our information to just one prompt. Now this time in this video, we're going to use another service that we can chunk our data and push the relevant information from our own data set to the prompt that we're going to use with ChatGPT. That means now I can ask any question that I want from all large amount of data that I have that can be structured, unstructured, text, tables, images, so on and so forth. In this video, we're going to leverage Azure Cognitive Search, which on backend will use advanced AI-based solution to index my data. So when I ask any specific question using ChatGPT related to my data set, Azure Cognitive Search will help me to intelligently come up with the relevant chunk of the data that I have in my own data set, bring it to my prompt to be able to answer the question that I have from ChatGPT that is relevant to the information of mine that I'm asking the question about. Let's check it out that how we can enable this solution and then bring up our own web application that we can just type in, ask any questions from our own data, or chat with your data using ChatGPT in the web app that we're going to create together. Then let's check it out.
Before we start, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you will get notified for the next video. Thank you. All right, again, I would love to welcome you all again to this video. This is gonna be another part of video that we already created for ChatGPT. In previous video, which I'm gonna add that video link to the video description here, we talked about how we can use ChatGPT with your own large amount of data. And in that video, we created a web application that on backend we are using word embedding stuff to retrieve the relevant information that you're asking your prompt from your own data, and then answer the prompt by GPT models. But what we're gonna do here, instead of using word embedding stuff and the other web application, on backend we're gonna use Azure Cognitive Search that uses AI model to index our data and then bring the relevant information that we're asking question here. So this is a web app. As you can see, I'm sharing my screen, but let's go and check out how you can create this web app by yourself for your own data that you can ask similar question, like as an example here. What does a product manager do? That maybe it's relevant to my own data, nothing necessarily available on the internet. Or what is included in my health plan? So this is something relevant to your own data. Let's figure it out. Okay, this is a repository that says Azure Search OpenAI demo. Well, certainly kudos to the contributors here. And I'm gonna provide you walkthrough of what is the architecture that we're going to implement right now to be able to have this web application to chat with our own data using ChatGPT. Then on the top, how we can enable that using this repository. So here again, as we talked, definitely you need to have already Azure OpenAI enabled in your subscription. We already talked about that, how you can do so. There's a form you have to fill out, and after that you should be able to create Azure OpenAI as a service in your Azure subscription. So this repository will create that for you if you have permission and you already got approved for having that. Plus, it will create your Azure Cognitive search. And this Azure Cognitive search will get access to your data source. Here we will have a blob that have our PDF files that we're gonna upload through this demo, and it will try to create chunk of different portion, make different chunks with portions of my data set. For example, each page of my PDF can be a chunk. And when we ask a question using that web application, it will go back and fetch the relevant information from cognitive search, that chunk of PDF data, and bring the answer back to me with citation. So I can see how ChatGPT is answering my question based on what reference. And we can open up that PDF file from there too, which is pretty cool. So for enabling this, you need to, there are actually two quick ways to deploy this. You can use GitHub Codespace, which what I use and I'm gonna use now. It's pretty cool. It will give you the ready environment. You just need to write down the command line and get everything deployed, or you can make it remote through containers and it will launch your VS Code if you have it installed in your local machine. So here, let's go with GitHub Codespace. So I'm gonna open that. And I would recommend you actually open incognito window in your browser in case it won't mess up with all the credentials you have already cached, because it happened for me. So assuming that you have a incognito window, then open up this repository, click on Codespace that I just mentioned, and of course you need to log into your GitHub first if you haven't. So let me put my... Alright, I just logged in and there you go. It is telling me that it is creating a code space for deploying this repo. It will need a sort of 4 core 8 gigabyte machine type. I'll go with as is and create code space. It might take a couple of minutes. That's a similar time that it took for me. So because it needs a sort of a image to build in the container and launch that sort of a server. So I'm gonna pause recording, and as soon as this part is done, which should be again just a couple of minutes, I'll resume recording. There you go. Now my environment is ready to run my command line and start deploying the infrastructure that comes with this actual repository. So if you check that out in the infra folder, it sort of have the bicep code that will create this architecture that we talked about. So it will enable an Azure OpenAI service, an Azure Cognitive search with a blob storage with some PDF files as a sample that we can ask some questions about them. Well, you might say that, oh, I already have some Azure OpenAI services stuff created. If yes, that's all good. You can run this command line to say that I have an Azure OpenAI service and that's the name, and the same thing for rest of the stuff here. So for now, we're gonna let this repository to deploy everything for us, assuming that you don't have any of those yet, and you just have permission actually, or you got approval to create Azure OpenAI in your Azure subscription. So how do we do it? Before I start deploying, a couple of things I'm gonna let you know. So you can see under data folder, it comes with some PDF files that talks about employee handbook, health benefits stuff. These are actually some data set for the demo. That's why when we had this web app, you see these questions that are relevant to the data that is going to get deployed by this repository. But what you can do instead, and what I did actually, so I deleted all these data sets before I deploy. So delete permanently, for example. Now the first one got deleted. Let's go with this one. So I did it all one by one, and when I had nothing, then I uploaded my data. So what did I upload? If you remember again in the previous video that we talked about chatting with ChatGPT with your own data using word embeddings, I uploaded a PDF file which was sort of, I think it was, yes, the annual report of Bank of America, this one, which has a PDF file with 226 pages. And I started to ask questions about this PDF, and you can see it's PDF. So if we have to make it as a text, some of the information are potentially need OCR, object character recognition, because they're embedded over a chart or a picture. So then what I did, I clicked on data, and then right click on upload, right click on the data and upload. Then I uploaded my own PDF file as I did here, for example. And that's it. Then my data was here. So when I deploy this repository, my data will be chunked, and now I can ask questions about my own data. That doesn't mean that it is the only time that you can upload your own data. No. When you deploy everything, you can chat with your data, and then later on you can add more and more and more data in different sources, not just the blob even. So that's about the data. The second thing, notebook. If you go to the notebook, you can see there's a notebook called chat, read, retrieve, read. So if I scroll down, you can see that this is sort of a notebook that is describing how I'm going to ask question and create my prompt with ChatGPT. So it is going to tell to ChatGPT that you are a system assistant and help the employee, which is me here, to ask questions about healthcare plan. Why healthcare? Because again, this data set was demo related to healthcare plan, and that's why this prompt is also demo. What you can do, you can change it to, for example, with their questions about, for example, my company, which is your company actually, my company X or whatever. This is the place you can change the prompt even here, and even later on from the web app you can change the prompt as well. And you can see then when you ask your question, it will grab the sources, but we don't have the sources of the information yet because Azure Cognitive Search will bring it for us, and then I can execute this prompt. That's it. When you make these changes, then let's go back to the README to sort of deploy this actually repository. Let me close extra tabs. There you go. So the first thing that you need to do is running AZD login. What you will do, you will log in to the subscription that you are going to deploy this solution. So just simply say AZD login, and it says that, okay, go to this link, which I'm going to do. Okay, let me just control and click, and then enter this code. So I'm gonna copy this code. Oh, sorry. Control C. There you go, I paste it. It is going to ask me, okay, which account you're gonna sign in. I wanna choose mine, and yours would be certainly different. Continue. And I should be all good for now. Let's wait a bit. There you go. You have signed in, so I can close it. And there you go. I logged into Azure. Now I'm ready to sort of start deploying. But first, you need to initiate some specific files that you need to deploy them. So that's why you need to then run this command line. Okay, let me click hello to be able to copy. Oops, sorry. I would say azd init Azure search OpenAI demo. I hope I don't have any typo. I should be fine, yeah? Okay, there you go. So as you can see, sort of grab the data we talked about, some infrastructure code, and it says that you have already done this. That's okay. And you want to replace them. Please enter a new environment name. So what is environment name? That's the name that it's gonna choose for creating a resource group to deploy all these services and launch my web application. So the resource group name will start with RG dash the name that I'm gonna enter here. Let's say RG dash MG002. So MG002 would be my environment name. So my resource group will be RG dash MG002. I hit enter. It is telling me that choose a subscription. Because I already logged in, it knows what subscription I'm talking about. So with arrow up or arrow down key in your keyboard, you can select number 1. As you can see, I'm changing, and then hit enter. And that's telling me, give me what is the location. I would say East US as an example. And now the last thing that I need to sort of specify to deploy this project is, I think, AZD up. Let me double check. There you go. Copy. Well, actually, I can type it here. So as soon as I hit enter, it will start creating the resource group, which is RGMG002, and deploy all the services. I'm not going to do it again because it will take several minutes. That's why before recording video, I already did this. And now I'm going to show you what's going to be happening in my resource group. So this is the name I chose before. So instead of MG002, I added MG01. resource group, and you can see it is telling me that, okay, the web app is deployed. Your form recognizer, in case you have some data set in unstructured data like images from the PDF file, so we have to digitalize those and make the text out of them. You have the Azure OpenAI service that has ChatGPT already deployed. If I open that for you, you can go to the model deployment and you will see that ChatGPT, which is on backend use GPT 3.5 Turbo, has been already enabled. So going back, now this part, Azure Cognitive Search. So this is the part that does indexing and bring the relevant data based on the prompt that I'm asking the question. So that's why if I go to semantic search, you can see there are different plans for that. And if I go to, let me check, it was knowledge center. Yes, you can see I can connect to my data source. It uses sort of AI to create indexing, and then I can explore, ask any relevant information about the data and bring it back. But of course, with ChatGPT, I can complement this service with more sophisticated questions to answer complicated scenarios. Now, coming back to that resource group, we have now Azure Cognitive Search to index our data, but of course our data was huge, so we had to come up with the chunk of data. That's why if I go to my blob storage, and this is the one that is created by this repository, go to containers, content, I saw that annual report Bank of America has been chunked. I think each one is just one page of that PDF file. So of course they have different parts of information from that all original file, and you can have even more and more getting uploaded from different sources as well. Here I just use one PDF as an example. And then lastly, I have my web app that has been deployed by a service plan, so I am going to launch my web app. You go to your web app, you'll see on the right side there's something called default domain name. Click on that. It will now launch your web application that you can ask questions about your data. For example, what I'm going to do, if you remember, there was something called responsible growth that talks about the principles that responsible growth comes with Bank of America as an example, some definition information. I want to ask some question about this using ChatGPT. So let's say, what is responsible growth? I just want to see what it's going to bring it back. Can it bring back the data that I have from this PDF file or not? So it is generating answers. Let's wait a bit. There you go. It sort of answered my question and also told me that how it grabbed the answer, what is the reference. Sometimes it has 1, 2, 3 references or citations. So if I click on that citation, exactly it was able to figure out where responsible growth information is coming from my PDF file. You might say that, oh, it's like asking question based on keywords. So that's not really the case. My question was very simple, but we can have more sophisticated questions as well. And just before we ask more questions, a couple of things I can show you. So the tab here, citation, talks about the reference that is answering the question about. Supporting content, as you can see, it had sort of even more references to come up with the answer, not just one. And what you can do, you can even increase the number of documents, max number of documents that it can use to retrieve the answer that you're looking for. And what are those documents? Those are the chunk of my PDF files that you can see they have been indexed by a specific number, right? So what is the prompt here or thought process? Remember that was the prompt in the notebook? Well, I didn't change that part. I used it as is, but you can certainly use it in the way that I told you. So it is telling me you are an assistant and ask the question. It used some advanced prompt engineering techniques that, hey, if you don't have the answer, do not come up with imaginary answer, for example. Say, I don't know. So these are some best practices you can add in prompt. And then the sources which were empty and now has been gathered from Azure Cognitive Search and the indexing mechanism that uses AI there. And you can see the relevant information has been fetched for me. So what are some specific settings? You can override that prompt template here using this box here. I talked about that. You can change the maximum number of documents you can retrieve. One cool thing you can do, Azure Cognitive Search will use an advanced technique to retrieve data. Instead of just simply using the keyword technique, for example, searching any responsible growth as a keyword in a document, it can use semantic search that uses the intention of your words, the context of your sentence, not just the keyword, because it uses AI. It's like the search engine that uses the context instead of just keywords. And instead of bringing all documentation from the source that can get you some token limit there, you can grab the summary of that sources. You can see here, I think I have multiple sources get gathered for me. Yeah, one source is here, one source is here. So that will help you to get the summarized answer and even have more documents coming into that prompt. So let me clear the chat. Now let's ask some specific questions that without ChatGPT it would be very hard and even impossible to ask those. So let's see the power that now we can chat with our data. I would say first of all, I want to ask ChatGPT that give me all references that I have that talks about responsible growth and summarize them. Let's see what it's gonna tell us. It might take a little bit longer because it might go through a lot of references based on the number of references that I add in the setting. So let's see what it's gonna retrieve back to us. Cool. 1 to 7 references so far that talk about responsible growth in different aspects, and it has in the summary as well added. It's not a part of my document. And now I'm a bit lazy. I don't want to open each of these. We can open them. You can see I can open the different pages, and the responsible growth should be talked about it somewhere here. That's why it is as a reference. And same here, same here. Okay, so but I'm a little bit lazy, and what I'm gonna do, I would say, you know what is the difference? For example, what is the information that reference number 1 has about responsible growth, but reference number 2 doesn't have? I would say, what is the information that reference 1 has, but reference 2 and 3, let's say, doesn't have? Let me fix my typos. What is the information that reference 1 has, but references 2 and 3 don't have? Sorry. Okay, let's see what's gonna be the answer. So reference 1 provides information, blah blah blah, which is not mentioned in 2 and 3. So it is telling me the differences of information that I grabbed from reference 1, although all of them are talking about the same thing, but here is highlighting the difference for me. This is extremely powerful. And now you can think about much more complex and sophisticated questions based on your data. I'm just honestly coming up with some random questions as of now. Just want to show you how you can enable that, implement it, and start playing with your own data. And again, for any sort of prompt answer, you can go with the thought process, the references that you use, and citations as we talked about. And of course, the original prompt. Alright, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you have any comments, questions, you have some ideas that can further enrich that kind of services and solutions. I'm highly interested to know your input. And as I'll of course do my best to continue creating content like this, that I feel that it's gonna be extremely impactful for your use case, for your project, for your business and company. So stay tuned for upcoming videos and contents and cool advances coming in with these capabilities. Thank you.
When you lose your money, you lose nothing. When you lose your health, you lose something. When you lose your character, you lose everything. Dream big, my friends, believe in yourself, and take action. Until next video, take care and we'll see you shortly.